We'll reconvene now, and we'll do one more poet, and then if we have some time, we'll do a quick open mic, maybe one poem each or something. And so, without further ado, I will introduce Calvin Wharton. Calvin, come on down.
All right. So, as Trevor said, if you really want to clap, just wait till the end. It's probably best. Save your strength for a mighty round of applause at the very end. So I'm going to read some older poems and some very new poems, and I'll start off with a number of the things that Candace and Trevor said sort of reminded me of things that have been things that are part of my life as a writer as well, and the stuff about Ireland. Actually, Chuck said that I was at the University of Wales in 2006. Actually, it was in last fall when I was there. And during that time, I was invited to go with these Welsh poets to Ireland, and we did some readings in Ireland. And this was one they always asked me to read this one. And if somebody hadn't been at the reading, but someone else had, they said, "Oh, so-and-so said you read this poem about bears." So they always want to hear. They like bears in Ireland anyway. I guess they don't have their own anymore, if they ever did. So this poem's called, appropriately, Bears. Always in this darkened landscape, where the bush grows to road's edge, they are certain to appear. Grizzlies with ferocious humped shoulders, or blacks and their cinnamon-colored cousins, pursue me, follow me, and in the wake of my dreamy walking, just as I know they will, come out from between the alders, parting branches, resolute and quiet behind me on the path, maintaining bare presence in peripheral light. So I speed up, head for the house quickly, carefully, without running because that would only make them run too. My feet raising small puffs of dust, I imagine, but don't turn back to look or consider just what house this is, or whose, or how I know it's here. Still they trail me to the flimsy screen door. I lock it anyway, which seems ridiculous, but sometimes keeps them out, circling the house, peering in windows with squinty, myopic eyes, though often they find an opening and I know they're inside, maybe the kitchen, clearing out the fridge, or shredding the living room furniture with curved yellow claws. I feel their movement, smell the rank aroma of old grease, or find a tuft of fur on a door jamb. I want to get away, but where is there to go? Back outside? Further inside? Into a closet or down to the basement? This house, wherever it is, I suddenly realize, is never enough to keep me separate from their intent, those bears, unsettled night, the looming day that waits. That's a FOE for a faintly ominous ending. And this is a poem for my mother who was famous in our family for having no sense of direction. This poem's called Turned Around. She gets turned around, she says, finds herself moving away from where she wants to go, claims that roads change direction behind her back. Still, she follows the gravel path down toward a cable-strung bridge, swaying across a chasm, green home to pounding water that moves so fast it makes her dizzy. She says she can't detour, only travels straight ahead, then steps down, rolls her foot on an egg-shaped pebble, and falls, slowly, like a rectangle of cloth collapsing. Tears the knee of her new beige slacks, scrapes her hand, blood blossoms in time-lapse tempo, tiny beaded flowers on white skin. Not easy, she says, not fair to have no sense of direction when the world is a web of paths passing through light and dark, a series of melting landmarks that double back on themselves, confusion, a game she has no choice but to play. And I'll read these two poems. This is like one poem with two parts to it, and Trevor will know this house because Trevor and I are basically neighbors. So I used to live next door to this house that had a creek running under part of it. And this poem is called In the House Beside the Creek, and there's a little kind of tribute to William Blake here. So the first part is called Innocence. At night, the ambient crash of creek, more percussive brush-on snare drum now than when it competes with daylight, fills the room with insistence that all is well. Sleep tight, dream lavishly, there is water in the world. And in my somnolent thoughts, I ride the white rush of liquid into the arm of the sea below our house. The moon, a luminous landing strip across to who knows what waits over there, where mystery opens like a grin, a wish, a sound, landscape of possibility. Experience. So glad we don't live next door, that house with its bad feng shui, water running underneath, whisking good fortune and tranquility out to sea. Tonight especially, after all this rain, a foam, a froth, of torrent down the creek bed, 500 times its normal volume. Still not enough to drown out the young woman in pink stretch pants outside her kitchen entrance, crying into the telephone. All that water, that noise, it's my life too, she says, just next door.